So if the fight comes down, right? If the fight begins and it's you on like 7 sheets of acid versus like a gorilla with tranquilizers in him, you think you could win?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
You're a fucking idiot. You're a moron.
Me win.
You don't win. Have you seen a fucking gorilla? Have you seen the size of those things?
If he's tranked, he's just a chimp. I'm King Kong this time, especially on 7 sheets of acid.
Chimps are scary too. Don't short sell a gorilla.
Have you seen me on 7 sheets of acid?
Not yet.
Because I've seen me on 7 sheets of acid.
All right, well, I'd like to bring in the gorilla from backstage. Charlene, could you grab the gorilla, please? There he is. Still feeling confident?
Yes.
Still feel confident? All right, Darlene, bring out the 7 sheets of acid, please.
Here we go. Welcome to the No Experience Podcast, where 2 adult men who have responsibility over their own needs are on a quest to talk about anything and everything. I'm here with my co-host, Ammar Abdullah. I'm Jared Hines. And today we're talking about Britney Spears and her conservatorship.
Britney, bitch.
All right, Ammar, have you heard much about this?
So I've heard bits and pieces about what's been going on with Britney Spears. Basically, as best as it's been explained to me, is she has like no autonomy over her own life, and that her dad controls everything in her life. I wager you might know a little bit more than I do about this, Jared.
A little bit. I've looked up a bit of specific details, and it's fucked. Basically, back in 2008, Britney was hospitalized. If I remember right, because of an overdose. She was dealing with a lot of addiction issues.
Basically, the stress of a former child star.
Yeah.
A Disney child star, no less.
Yeah. So she was hospitalized, and then her dad, Jamie, almost immediately filed for temporary conservatorship, which eventually turned into a slightly longer extension, then a slightly longer extension until he filed for it to be indefinitely. And she has been on conservatorship for 13 years. That's not temporary. No.
That's 13 years is not what I would consider a temporary conservatorship.
No, not at all. So since then, Britney has aired a lot of complaints, even more recently, allegedly saying that she doesn't even have control over what color her cabinets are, because her dad has been abusing this conservatorship. And apparently he hasn't even been paying the court fees. He's been using her money to pay for his lawyer to protect the conservatorship. She's been paying for all of these people who have taken like fiduciary responsibilities and guardianship responsibilities over her. And
how is this legal?
It shouldn't be.
That's the strangest thing I've ever. So let me make sure that I got this right. Let me make sure I got this straight. So Britney Spears, pop star, former child star, Disney wunderkind, it goes through a mental breakdown, experiences some problems with addiction, and her dad takes over as a conservator for her, and now is basically doing a weird perpetual motion machine where her money pays for him to keep her under the thumb. Do I got that right so far?
Precisely.
Fucking disturbing. How is this legal? How is this possible?
I don't know, and I imagine after all this shit is done, it probably won't be legal anymore.
Yeah,
I sure hope so, at least.
Yeah, fuck me, man. I mean, that's like worst case scenario, right? For like a child star. I can't think of a remotely worse scenario. That has to be like rock bottom, I think.
Yeah, there's only so many ways that you could get further down from that.
Fuck, that's got to be like part of some weird toxic mentality we got about mental health, huh?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And fucking addiction and drug abuse.
We got an addict clearly under a lot of pressure, you know, being like the biggest pop star ever at the time, and she is now for the rest of her life, basically incapable of making her own decisions until her dad finally kicks the fucking bucket.
And for a while there, allegedly, she was also potentially being forced to do shows.
Jesus Christ, dude.
So, really, really big fucky-wucky going on here. The whole Free Britney movement, it's been coming up a lot lately, but it's...
Yeah, I have noticed that. I've noticed the Free Britney movement has kind of been blowing up recently.
Yeah, but it's been there for years. Free Britney is not a new hashtag or anything. Because news about this has been coming out since 2008. So her dad hasn't had to like pay for the court fees or anything, and people recently, actually, I believe it was her new lawyer, pointed at the fact that her net worth is substantially lower than the co-stars around her, not co-stars, the celebrities around her, which theoretically should have around the same net worth. It seemed like a weird argument to me, but it was brought up and apparently was worth mentioning.
Well, it's because she's losing money on lawyer fees being perpetuated by her dad, who has control of all of her fucking assets.
Yeah, but the implication is that he's using it for more than just court fees.
Well, yeah, wouldn't you, I suppose? If you were a completely morally bankrupt wasteland of a person like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if I was like that, sure, absolutely.
That's fucking terrifying. Like, imagine if you got big, right? Like, if you were a Disney star and you were, topping the pop charts consistently for years, and then, under that tremendous pressure, you crack, as anybody would, I would think, and suddenly the rest of your life is now decided for you. That's disturbing, right? That's got to be like, that's like a form of prison, right? Basically.
Britney has said as much. She feels as though she's imprisoned. And it sure seems that way. It doesn't seem like she has any sort of control over her life. And it's been 13 years, right? I think there's an argument to be made for people who really can't take care of themselves in the moment and they need a guardian. I think that's reasonable, but 13 years?
Yeah, there's no fucking way. With like the best mental health care that money can buy, and she's still not okay after 13 years, I just find that unlikely.
It's ridiculous.
I find that impossible, as a matter of fact.
But slowly, Britney has been getting little wins here and there. Like, she got to choose her own lawyer, which has been a big thing. And her newest lawyer within like the last 2 weeks has done a shit ton. And one of those things is that I think it was a week ago, he officially filed documents to have conservatorship changed to somebody else, which is indicative of a move, apparently, that conservatorship will be totally taken off.
Well, yeah, you can't. I doubt that with the legal system being what it is, that she could just get it revoked entirely, immediately. I think that it is going to be a long process over the course of probably a few years to finally get that shit switched over and then eventually deprecated entirely.
Yeah. Hey, it's Jared in Post again. So some new information came out while editing this episode. Jamie Spears officially put in documents to step down as conservator. So presumably, conservatorship will pass on to somebody else, and ideally moves will be made to remove conservatorship altogether. How long that will take, nobody really knows, but as it stands right now, at the very least, Jamie Spears, Britney Spears' dad, is stepping down. Back to the rest of the episode. So I guess the main question here that we have to talk about is like, how much is too much with guardianship roles?
So it's hard, right? Like, I think you really do have to look at like extant factors like that, where it's like, I don't think Britney Spears is crazy. I don't. I think that Britney Spears was a celebrity under just an unimaginable amount of pressure and cracked, like she something broke, right? Like this human body, the human psyche really is a fragile fucking thing. You bump yourself on the head and your personality completely changes, So it's like, when you put somebody basically in a pressure cooker for this long, where it's like, money, power, influence, people constantly, telling you what to wear, how to dress, like when you have that pressure applied to a person over a long period of time, I don't think that that's indicative of this person is unwell and cannot care for themselves. I think that is indicative of the people around her have put her into a toxic mental space. What she needs is a proper psych evaluation, a diagnosis of any issues that might be there. I don't think that she needs to be kept in what is basically like a weird form of arrested development for the rest of her life.
Yeah, she needs professional help, not a fucking father to lord over her.
Yeah, which is pretty much what's happening, right? Like,
it's exactly what's happening. Her literal father has been lording over her for 13 years.
The king of her life, basically. It's like, you don't do, say, buy, act. You don't do anything without somebody constantly giving you the go-ahead or giving you the okay, right? It's like, oh gosh, I don't even know what to compare it to that, like, accurately portrays the level of disturbing shit at play here. It's like a weird form of like basically prison, how she's described it. You have to ask to take a piss, you have to ask to read a book, you have to ask to buy a fucking cabinet. Insane. One would think it's impossible, right? One would think that our system couldn't fail somebody this bad, especially not somebody in the public eye like Britney Spears.
And yet here we are in a world where Britney Spears is no longer an autonomous person capable of making meaningful choice. She's been shoved into a box and is now told everything, unallowed to be a creature capable of, making a choice, continues to be safe, ceases to be human. That I think is the best way that I could describe it. God, that was a good line. You're just full of good lines today. You know that?
I am. I'm on it. I'm on my game recently. I've been practicing a lot. I've been reading out. This is a complete non sequitur, but I'm going to completely derail the conversation about Britney Spears and say that I've been reading a lot about tropes recently. There's a whole wiki dedicated to just different tropes in popular media, and I've been reading up a lot about it, and I think it has actually increased my narrative and rhetorical abilities. So unsolicited advice, go read up on tropes sometime. It's fun. It's fun. Just take like a couple hours sometime and just go down a trope rabbit hole. It's fun. You'll like it.
ADHD.
Yeah, baby. Woo.
Right. So going forward, what are some like specific things that you think we can do to prevent shit like this from happening?
Well, I think the abolition of the abolition of the ability to extend conservatorships without like serious background checks and psych evaluations, because like I think that if this had been nipped in the bud like a decade ago, if she had, when the time came for him to try and extend that, she had been sat down and given a proper all-encompassing psych evaluation, you would have found there was no need for her to have somebody managing her funds, managing her assets, managing every little bit of her life. I think that a more robust set of mental health evaluations would be the first step to ensuring shit like this doesn't happen in the future.
That, along with a good therapist that like gels with her, that is super important. And also having set up a proper like support network for her.
Decisions made irrespective of her father as well, I would wager.
Yes.
A therapist that does not go through her father, an independently hired therapist given by a neutral third party.
100%.
Brain broke in a mission. Brain broke.
All right, I'm going to put this on record. My brain is fucking fried today.
Yeah, no, Jared and I are both bad brains this morning. I don't know why.
This morning?
This life.
I got up at like 12:30.
Yeah, I had to wake you up with a phone call. I rolled out of bed about 11, and I was like messaging Jared, like, "You ready for me to come and pick you up? You ready to come do the podcast?"
Yeah, and I was like,
Yeah, no, literally, he was like, I'm asleep. I'm sleeping. And I was like, well, you have half an hour to get your ass up and out of bed. I'm gonna make some soup, and then I'm gonna come and pick you up.
Yeah, that's basically how it went. Ammar is my conservator.
Yeah, not in the Britney Spears way, in the I am good for Jared way, and don't call the police, don't report us, don't do anything like that. He is safe and happy. Isn't that right, Jared?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, no, man. It's just like, I think the whole situation is indicative of like a failing of the mental health system, if you ask me. It's like boiled down to the biggest microcosm, just like the biggest instance of somebody whose mental health has been used as a tool to control and manipulate them down to everything, not like, little tiny little bits. No, it's like everything in her life is now monitored and controlled by somebody else. It's like the most, and I'm sure that this happens to small people all the time who don't have nearly the following that Britney Spears does. It's like you point to any number of people who might be in like a mental health ward or an asylum or kept under strict supervision, and over time I think that has a more negative than positive effect on their mental health.
Oh, absolutely. It shouldn't be a thing at all. And yet it is, which is why we're talking about it. Do you actually think that anything's going to come about it after all this is ended? Do you think people are, like the politicians and everything, are actually going to call for...
I don't think that of their own volition they will. I doubt it. However, I think that if Britney Spears gets her independence, she then becomes the best possible advocate for it. Imagine, if you will, a world where Britney Spears gets free from a 13, what will probably by the end of it be a 15 to 16 year long conservatorship under her, power-hungry father. And now she has the microphone for the first time in years, and she gets to defend herself, and she gets to talk about, mental health and the state of, dependence in America right now. I don't think that politicians do it on their own, but I think that with just a little bit of advocacy from Britney Spears, once she's finally earned her freedom, it's like, what better example do you need? What better, situation can you point to that exemplifies the breakdown of mental health care in the United States? I don't think there's a better one that you can point to. And I don't think there's a better person to advocate for it than Britney Spears. I think she is got such a huge audience, so popular for so long at this point, that who better to, speak on that?
And of course, there's a part that we play in this too. We should hold our politicians accountable. We should hold the people in power accountable. We've said these things time and time again.
Yeah, take them to task. Be like, how did you let this happen? How does something so horrible happen to somebody? In public, right where everybody can see it. It's not like it's been like under the covers, under wraps, where it was invisible, in private mental health institutions or, psych wards and shit like that. This has been public. Something that you could easily go on the news and read about. There's no way that you can hide it at this point. We've all seen it happen.
You are legally allowing domestic ownership of another person.
Yeah, a weird form of, I almost hesitate to compare it to this, but like a weird form of almost like slavery, where it's like somebody who's got no autonomous control over their own life, basically owned by another person. How is that anything but like, if not slavery, a weird form of like indentured servitude? How is it anything else? How can you say it's anything else?
It isn't.
It's not. That's just what it is, and it's like, just even over this brief conversation and over the little bits and pieces I've been able to pick up over time, Britney Spears deserves her fucking freedom. She deserves to no longer be under the oppressive thumb of a father figure in her life who has now at this point done nothing but take advantage of her tremendous wealth, of her tremendous resources, and used it as a funnel to just, in a weird circular way, be like, I control your assets, therefore I can pay to control your assets. How is that fucking kind of loop possible? How has our mental health system failed us that badly?
Not just our mental health system.
Everything.
Yeah, I would say even more so the legal system, because that in the end is what enabled her father to take control over her.
Yeah, no, I think I don't think anybody can point to the American legal system and be like, this is a good way to be. You know, this is a good thing that we got going here. I mean, I've been watching a lot of like short form documentaries on a channel. I think it's called JCP. It's like something criminal psychology, where it shows like footage of like interviews, and you see the way in which, you know, law enforcement individuals and detectives and lawyers try to manipulate the answer that they want out of a person. They had somebody who was not guilty, somebody who there was no evidence that he was guilty of the crime they were accusing him of, but they kept saying in the interview, it's like, your innocence or guilt is not up for discussion. You are guilty. We have the information. And it's like guilty before proven innocent. You know, I don't think that anybody can look at things like that and things like what's going on with Britney Spears and say the American legal system is a win. You know, it's a shining beacon of our quality as a country. I don't think anybody can point to it and say that. And if they could, they're being disingenuous, or maybe they're a lawyer, or maybe they're trying to sell you something. Or
they're just stupid. The fact that there are people who do that, they look at that and they're like, yes, this is it.
I just don't see how you could do that. Like, I'm disappointed every time someone brings up the American legal system, as I think you should be, as I think everyone should be. I think everybody should be disappointed when they see this shit. You know, when you look at it, it's like Britney Spears has spent 13 years in a weird prison-like arrested development. You look at that and you're proud and you're happy. How fucking stupid are you? You know, like, how dumb can you be that you look at that and it's like, this is a good thing. America first. America's doing it good, baby. Like, what?
At that point, you can't even be like, you should have better standards, because obviously it's not an issue of their standards. It's their ability to recognize something horrible.
Yeah, it's a critical thinking issue at that point. It's like, you point at it and it's like, okay, well, it's not that you have bad moral standards. It's not that you're malicious. It's that you're stupid. And stupid can't be cured, unfortunately. Malice can be cured. Someone's moral failings can be adjusted under good critical thinking and examination. But what do you do with somebody who has no critical thinking skills? You can't. You can do nothing. You know?
I mean, maybe there is, but we don't know what it is.
Well, yeah, neither of us are an expert in anything. And I don't mean to like come down on people for being proud of America. If that's the hill you want to die on, be my guest. But I'm just saying, man, like, you can't look at this situation and look me in my eyes and tell me this is a good thing that happened here. This is a positive thing. This is a shining example of the quality of America's legal system. You can't point to it and say that.
If you look at me in the face and say these things, and if you do this, like, I can't respect you.
Yeah, you're a fucking idiot, right? Like, that's it. There's no two ways about it. You're dumb. You're stupid. And, you know, that's it, right? Like, I don't like talking like this, right? I don't like looking at people and being like, you're a fucking idiot. You know, like, I don't like to be mean to people about what they believe. But this is not a matter of belief. It's not a matter of right and wrong, good or evil. What this really is a matter of smart and just fucking dumb. You know, that's what it is. And if you choose to be dumb, if you choose to look at this and turn a blind eye to the suffering of a person who did nothing wrong, I have nothing for you. I have nothing to say to you about that, because you're clearly too stupid to have that conversation. That's all I have to say about that, man.
Me too.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, everybody, heavy topic there, obviously, but it's probably a pretty important topic. Something that I'm sure that there are like a number of like petitions online that you can sign to help get Britney her freedom. Get out there, advocate for her, advocate for us, because any one of us could have been in that position, and not all of us would have had the audience and the influence to help protect us from that situation. But that's it for today. As always, everybody, thanks so much for listening to the No Experience Podcast. We really do love having you guys here. We appreciate everybody who's listening. We appreciate everyone who subscribes. In that vein, please subscribe, you know? Give us a like, you know, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. All that shit's going to be in the description. You can click on those links. If you got topics you'd like to suggest, you can send that to our email. Stay good people. Be good people. Advocate for good things.
And free Britney, bitch.
Free Britney, bitch. Bye, everybody.
Bye.